Hello, I'm John Heathcote and I'm presenting today my paper about Analytic Induction, a method for analysing interview data, which I think will be particularly useful in research around the management of projects. Okay, so we had two related aims in this paper. First of all, to establish the appropriateness of phenomenological research to the field, and secondly, to explore the use of analytic induction as a method that might have utility for qualitative data in the field of project management, which I'll come on to explain why that's important. The theoretical framework for project management is considered by literature to be weak and largely unsubstantiated. We can see its influence as a myriad, which I've tried to represent in this demonstration here, but we can see that project management is assimilating things from other management philosophies. There's also in the literature, the 21st century literature, a recognition that the current theories of projects and project management don't work very well for the actuality of projects. So we see these moves in different directions, suggestions for different directions, towards theories of complexity, from instrumental processes to projects as social processes, from projects as being about product creation to being about value creation, and so on. And you can see that Morris here is talking about different waves of development, so we can see that this is a field in development. And something that can't easily be ignored is that when you look at uniquely project management developments, they tend to focus on the project interface. So the context of the project is at least as important as how we're going to do the project, and might be more so. It might be all about that. Sure it is. Systems theory has been applied, and this has the effect of covertly acknowledging projects as open systems. So projects might have to deal with an open system problem. The phenomenon under investigation that led us to use analytic induction was looking at this paradox. The expectation here is the diagram on the right, that projects are aligned with the organisation, which are aligned with the market. But the observed reality was that they were not. But often that the project was more aligned with the market than the organisation. When I say market here, I include the public sector market, so that might be a public sector beneficiary. Okay, the research challenge when looking at project management is to how to avoid interpretation within inside the existing codified language of the profession, which, unlike other professions, broadens meaning and makes meaning more abstract rather than narrowing it down. So professional jargon is not always helpful in this particular area, and that leads to assumptions, and those assumptions inform normative project management, and many of them can be readily challenged. Okay, so what's analytic induction? So we need an approach to developing new theory. And we need to do that in an area which is problematic to access. So analytic induction, first of all, we have to gain access to the phenomenon. For my study, sample considerations were important, and we made them quite purposeful by looking at attention phenomenon. Okay, so we recruited people to that through a pre-interview. Then we interviewed them, use a typical semi-structured approach you'd expect with qualitative approaches, and using analytic induction we followed the process to interpret categories and features which would then inform later theoretical development. And sometimes we identified deviant features, and that might, in analytic induction, lead to a rejection of that interview as part of the sample. Yeah. Although we never did that in our particular study. Then we repeat that for each interview, so it's very combs through the data. So it's very, very intense way of examining the data in order to arrive at an approach an explanation which encompasses all of the sample data. Yeah, so we develop it over time, refine it over the course of iterative interviews. And then we arrive at the sort of final stuff. Here's another slightly different look at it. If we think at the first interview leads to a list of categories and features, the second interview leads to that being refined or revised, not really changed. So we've got to still incorporate what we'd seen in the first interview, and we continue doing that over and over again iteratively until we end up with the whole sample providing a common explanation. Yeah, and here I'm just noting that we would typically continue that until we've got saturation. So saturation is where the researcher is no longer surprised by the findings. We were surprised by some of the findings, but after a while we realised that this was common in the sample. So we went well beyond saturation +1. Here we've got our tables of findings. I'm not going to go into the detail of that other than to say that you can see we've got a hierarchy of categories, just 2 levels, value creation and tension, leading to other things. There was features within that which we'll develop into new grounded theory. And the deviances in this particular study we held on to. We didn't reject those as not being representative of the sample because we were able to explain that there was some particular easily identifiable variable that explained why there was deviance in that interview respondent. So that was quite useful because that led us to recommend other research inquiries. Okay, it's led us towards a new theory of project. This is an oversimplification, but we see project management as being largely about a negotiation about what represents value. That means the activity is about developing a viability case and testing that. And we have to do that. We see that as an antecedent to the more typical scoping of the product, deciding what should be done. That leads us to summarise that as being, therefore, projects can be considered as value rational constructs created by socio-cultural processes for socio-cultural benefits. And that's a challenging switch in paradigm, which fits within some aspects of the literature, and I don't think would have been achievable without a robust methodological approach.